Who was the greatest babysitter in the Bible? Oh, it was David, because he rocked Goliath to sleep.
All right, for this week's memory verse, we're going to learn some motions, and they are the hardest motions you have ever seen in your whole life. You ready to learn them? I believe in you. You can totally do it. Here it is. God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. Did you do it? Was it hard? I knew it. Okay, let's try one more time, and then I want you to go tell your parents it because it's gonna blow their minds. You ready? God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. Good job.
So today's story is found in the book of Esther in chapters 1 through 5 and chapter 8.
King Xerxes' wife, Queen Vashti, was no longer going to be queen, so they needed a new one. Among them was Esther, a young Jewish woman who was raised by her cousin Mordecai. Esther was taken to the king's palace and placed under the care of Haggai, the custodian of the women.
Esther pleased Haggai, and he quickly provided her with beauty treatments and special food. She had not revealed her nationality because Mordecai had instructed her not to do so.
So young women from all the provinces were brought to the king's palace. After 12 months of beauty treatments, Esther was taken to see King Xerxes, and he made her the new queen. So, in essence, she won the beauty pageant.
Meanwhile, Mordecai sat at the king's gate, and one day he overheard two of King Xerxes' officials. They were plotting to assassinate King Xerxes. Mordecai told Esther, who in turn reported to the king, and the plot was foiled.
Some time later, King Xerxes honored Haman, elevating him above all other nobles, and all of the officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to Haman, but Mordecai refused.
So when Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel, he was filled with rage. So he didn't want to just destroy Mordecai, he wanted to destroy all of the Jews in their kingdom.
Haman went to King Xerxes and said, "There's a certain people dispersed among your provinces who do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them."
So when Mordecai learned of the decree, he was upset. He tore his clothes, he put on sackcloth, he went into the city, and he wailed loudly. And when Esther's maids told her about this, she sent him clothes, but he was so upset that he refused.
Mordecai sent a letter to Esther, urging her to go to the king and plead for her people. Esther sent a reply and said, "Anyone who approaches the king without being summoned can be put to death unless the king extends the gold scepter."
Mordecai answered, "Do not think that because you are the king's house, you alone will escape. For if you remain silent, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from somewhere else."
Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: "Go and gather all of the Jews and fast for me. Do not eat and do not drink for 3 days.
I and my maids will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish."
On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace. When the king saw her, he was pleased and he extended his gold scepter to her.
The king asked, "What is it that you want, Queen Esther? What is your request? I'll give you half of my kingdom. It'll be given to you." And she replied, "If it pleases you, O king, let the king and Haman come to a banquet that I have provided."
So the king and Haman went to Esther's banquet. And during the meal, the king asked again, "What is your request? I will give it to you."
Esther answered, "If I have found favor with the king, let the king and Haman come to another banquet tomorrow. Then I will answer the king's question."
The king granted her request, and when they came back the next day for the second banquet, Esther revealed that she was a Jew and that Haman had a plot against her and her people.
King Xerxes was furious. He punished Haman. He gave his signet ring to Mordecai, who was appointed by Esther to oversee all of Haman's estate.
Esther again pleaded with the king, falling at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan of Haman, the Agagite, which he had devised against the Jews.
Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she arose and she stood before him. She asked him to let an order be written overruling Haman's plan to destroy the Jews in all of the king's provinces.
King Xerxes asked Mordecai to issue a new decree in the king's name to help protect the Jews the best way that he could.
At once, the royal secretaries were summoned. They wrote out all of Mordecai's orders to the Jews and the satraps, the governors, the nobles of the 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush.
In every province and in every city to which the edict of the king came, there was joy and there was gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating. And many people of other nationalities became Jews because fear of the Jews had seized them.
God was working on behalf of all of the Jewish people. Mordecai and Esther. God was working on behalf of all of the Jewish people, Mordecai and Esther, even when they couldn't see it. He's working on your behalf too, even when you can't see it. Hey families, let's gather together. We have a couple of questions that we want to talk about and think about together. Question number 1, what makes someone a hero? What do you think it is? Why don't you guys take a minute and talk to each other and figure it out? Okay, question number 2. If you saw someone being bullied, would you stop and help them out? Why or why not? All right, think about it for a minute and then share with your family. Okay, last question. Esther needed a lot of courage to do the right thing. So what was the last time you needed courage to do the right thing? Think about that this week and see if you can find spots in your week and in your day where you were courageous.